Hey everybody, I am Brady Briggs. Welcome to another episode of the Combat Logic. I want to go over Gegard Mousasi's resume and enlighten y'all on why he is one of the best fighters ever and probably the most underappreciated fighter ever. So let's go back to when he made his UFC debut. At that point, he was a Dream champion, a Strikeforce champion, a Cage Warriors champion, and multiple weights too, at middleweight and light heavyweight. And by the time he came to the UFC, he had a record of 33 3-1. He was supposed to fight Alexander Gustafsson in his UFC debut, which would have been so sick to watch. Well, Gustafsson had to withdraw, and he was replaced by Gustafsson's teammate, Ilir Latifi. Mousasi easily outpoints him to a unanimous decision victory, and then loses to former champion Lyoto Machida in his next fight. He then submits Mark Munoz, who was a top contender at the point, before being submitted, absolutely mauled and submitted by Jacare Souza, someone he had previously beaten before. He then knocks out multi-weight, multi-organization world champion, one of the best ever, Dan Henderson, in the first round before mauling Costa Philippou to another unanimous decision victory. He's then absolutely smashes Uriah Hall. Like, we think the fight's going to be over in the first round. Well, Hall makes it to the second round, and of course, every round starts on the feet. And Hall catches him with a beautiful spinning back kick that badly hurts him. Gegard ducked right into it, and he catches him flying knee following and ends the fight. Well, after that, he went on a 5-fight win streak, defeating the likes of Talis Latis, Thiago Santos, Vitor Belfort, Uriah Hall in their rematch, and Chris Weidman. So as you see, there's a former #1 contender there, there's a former multi-time champion there, and there's another former multi-time champion there. Not to mention, he avenged a defeat. He then leaves the UFC on a 5-fight win streak to go to Bellator, where he defeats multi-time world champion Alexander Semenko via unanimous decision. This gets him a title shot against then champion Rafael Carvalho, who he takes down and absolutely mauls and TKOs in the first round. And this is something to be said about him. Gegard is such a technical talent everywhere, but where he's really at his best is when he secures a takedown and he's raining down ground and pound, because his ground and pound is some of the best in the entire sport. He finishes so many guys there, as he did in his next fight by defeating a fellow Bellator champion, Rory McDonald, in his next fight, doing so in round 2. He then fights Rafael Carvalho Jr., or Rafael Lovato Jr., I'm sorry. And it's a relatively close fight, but he clearly lost. He lost a majority decision and his Bellator middleweight championship in the process. It's too bad we never saw that rematch, because Lovato was forced to retire afterward. But nonetheless, he gets rematched against Lyoto Machida in his next fight, who he defeats. And then he defeats another Bellator champion in Douglas Lima to recapture the middleweight crown. And he has since defended it against John Salter and Austin Vanderford, both via TKO. So he is a 5-time Bellator champion now. Add that to his listed Dream titles and Cage Warriors titles and Strikeforce titles. His record is 49-7-2. Of his last 4 defeats, he has wins over 3 of them. And probably the only reason he doesn't have the win over the 4th is because Lovato was forced to retire. But that's not such a bad thing. Lovato had such a beautiful swan song to exit the sport. It was really cool to see, but it was so saddening that we can't see him fight anymore. He's probably the best pure grappler in the entire sport. Like, this dude beat Roger Gracie in a grappling match. Like, that's really, really astounding. Now, mix that with what Gegard did before he got into MMA, where he went 8-0 as a pro kickboxer and 12-1 as an amateur boxer. So that gives him a combat sports record total of 69-8-2. which is just fucking remarkable. And while he was an amateur boxer, while he went 12-1 as an amateur boxer, he also claimed some championships in that as well. Gegard is one of the most decorated talents we have ever seen in the sport. And he's just now finally coming out and saying that he's the best in the world. And it's like, man, he really could have proved that. Why didn't you resign with the UFC? Probably because Bellator was paying him more. But it's like, God damn, man, you left on a 5-fight win streak. Like, you were so close to getting a title shot. So close. And I would love to see him stay in Bellator. But, man, I'd love to see him come back and fight Israel, too. Because Israel's rise has been very rapid. He evolved quicker than really anyone we've ever seen before, other than maybe John Jones. And in that same breath, he's kind of taken a little bit of a fall over the last year or so. I feel like he's peaked. I feel like we've seen most of what he has to offer at this point. His wins are not as dominant as they used to be. That being said, Israel is still the best middleweight in the world. But I would love to see Gegard argue that and come back to the UFC and try and win that belt as well. Because just imagine, he wins the UFC belt too. Like, how could you have a better career? Avenge 3 of your last 4 defeats, a belt in every promotion you fought in. The only belt he doesn't have really is the UFC belt. And that's because he left the organization on a 5-fight win streak, guys. Like, it's fucking crazy. And of those 5 wins, 4 of them were finishes. Like, he's been so underappreciated for so long. And I think it's finally about time that he gets the respect he deserves. He's getting it from the hardcore fans. But yeah, I think that he should stay in Bellator for, I don't know what his contract says. I don't know how many fights he has left on it or how many years he has left on it. What kind of contract sign? I don't know any of that. But I do know that 30-2 Anatoly Tokov is next in line for a shot at the Bellator middleweight title. He fucking better be anyways. This dude is so good. He's so good. Like, he beats everybody 30-2. Like, he's done very well in Bellator so far. He's on a multi-fight win streak, as is Gegard at this point. Like, I think this is the fight to make. What do you guys think? I appreciate y'all for watching. See you next time.